Joining us now from Basingstoke, ahead of his public event, is the Ukip leader, Nigel Farage. Mr Farage, are you sizing the seat up for yourself?
No, I'm not. We have a very strong local branch here. And whilst your report was right, that in the general election of 2010, we only got 4% here. Last year, in the Hampshire County Council elections, in all the divisions that make up the Basingstoke constituency, we got 26% of the vote. We've got a strong local committee, and Alan Stone, a local businessman who runs an antique shop in town, will be our candidate.
Well, now, at the root of all this is expenses. Shall we talk expenses for a moment? How much do you think you've got through in expenses at the European Parliament since 1999?
I've no idea. Less than most British MEPs, but I've no idea what the total figure is.
Well, in 2009, you said it was 2 million at that point. So how much do you think since then?
Well, I was actually being questioned by Dennis McShane, of all people, about my expenses, and he went round the world saying that I'd taken too much money. All I can tell you is that the system in Brussels is entirely different, laxer in many ways than Westminster, but actually we operate mostly on a system of allowances and not expenses. Yeah,
but the problem is your party in Europe has a most execrable record on expenses. You've had one guy in prison, you've had others charged under the European Union. I mean, the fact is, it's a pretty nasty record, isn't it?
Well, no. In this sense, no. Because you're quite right. There are two cases of UKIP MEPs who behaved badly and who acted dishonestly. And in both cases, I got rid of them from the party before any investigation was finished by the outside authorities or any prosecutions were brought. I dealt with the problem as soon as I saw it. And I think the real issue with the Maria Miller case, I mean, partly it's the fact that the taxpayer has helped her make a profit of £1 million, but the real issue is that the Prime Minister doesn't seem to understand that people think something's wrong. He supported her all the way through, and now he's saying he'll have her back in the cabinet as soon as he can. So you will find in every political party people who do things that are wrong. The question is, how do you deal with it?
Well, you gloss over the fact that you may well have taken tough measures with the two guys you got rid of, but the fact is you knew full well that your party was virtually surviving on the expenses that were being charged at the European Parliament. I mean, your record on expenses is worse than anybody's at Westminster. The sums are enormous.
Well, I think if you are accusing me, John, and UKIP, of taking the wherewithal provided by the European Parliament for us as MEPs and using it politically to campaign against Britain's membership of the European Union, well, if you think that's wrong, that's your decision. Actually, it's what our voters want us to do, and that is quite different. Yeah, that is quite different from benefiting personally.
Yes. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a situation in the House of Commons where there were rules which were broken, although the minister in question was found not guilty of elements of it. But the truth of the matter is there are rules at the European Parliament which your party broke and then used the effluent to fund the party.
Sorry, we haven't broken the rules of the European Parliament. We've been very careful at using our lawyers and using our accountants to dot the I's and cross the T's. But be in no doubt that we use the money provided to us from Brussels to fight against Britain's membership. Yes.
And do you think it's such a great thing to be employing your own wife?
She's paid a very modest sum of money, just over £25,000 a year, and I very much doubt that there's any other British MEP who's got anything like the workload that I've got. She did it unpaid for 7 years. She's done it, paid a modest sum for the last 7 years, and that arrangement will end in a few weeks' time.
I hesitate to use the word black in talking to you, but it's a bit the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it? You've got an absolutely dreadful record in Europe. Your own expenses record...
I'm sorry. I really will not have this. What are you saying
to me?
What
I'm saying is you've had a man put in jail.
My expenses.
No, I said your party's expenses. You've got a dreadful record in Europe.
No, you didn't.
A guy in jail. You've got two guys who had to be fined and had to pay money back, all for fiddling expenses. I ask you how many expenses you've got through. You're unable to tell me. Do you think your own expenses would pass muster under a Westminster regime?
Under a Westminster regime, I would be a member of a parliament that I thought was entirely legitimate, and I wouldn't need to use the money against the very existence of Westminster.
I see, so it's okay to mess around in Europe, but not in Britain.
John, there is nothing I've done with my expenses in 15 years that has been done for personal gain. I have not breached the rules for personal gain. I haven't bought a house and made £1 million. What I have done is to try and publicise across this country the extent to which membership of this union is damaging this country, and I would like to think I haven't done a bad job of that.
Nigel Farage, thanks for joining us.